everybody. Good late morning to you. My name is Colin Fair. I'm a faculty member in the Department of Behavioral Sciences here at UAGC, and I'll be serving as a co-chair for this session, along with my great colleague, Dan Augusto, also a faculty member in the Department of Behavioral Sciences. And our role as co-chair is to make sure that everybody has a great experience, and so we're gonna try our darndest to make sure that that happens. Feel free to engage in the chat as we go through there. That's a great place for everyone to feel engaged and stay involved in what it is that we're doing, and there will be an opportunity for questions as well. So with that, very pleased to welcome our panelists here. You can see the title, Unlocking the Power of Connection, Finding Harmony and Nurturing Meaningful Connections in the Online Higher Education Classroom. So our presenters today are Bill Davis. He's the program chair in the Department of Organizational Studies here at UAGC. We have Kim Cowan, the Student Rights and Responsibilities Manager in Student Affairs for UAGC. And Stephanie Stubbs is the Associate Director of Doctoral Research in the Office of Graduate Studies and Professional Accreditation of UAGC. So I'll turn it over to them now. We hope that everyone enjoys the session.
Yes, you can go ahead to the next slide here, Dan. Okay, what I'd like to just say, welcome everyone here. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here today and present with my colleagues, Dr. Stephanie Stubbs, Kim Cowan. Our presentation is based on some research we did, and we are excited because we're going to bring you some meaningful insights and engage you in this particular process. Now, first thing I would like to do is ask a question that you could type in the chat, and we want to ask you this. What does care mean to you? Would you please, what comes to the top of your mind is what we'd like to just hear when you think about that. You're asked a question, what does care mean to you? Would you please type in the chat, and I'll take a look at some of the comments coming in. Okay, personal investment in the comfort and achievement of others, showing empathy. Thank you, Melissa. Anybody else, please? Let's see, supportive environment. Absolutely, Rob, thank you. Understanding, showing compassion, understanding. Thank you, Stephanie. Care means using empathy, leading with care, supporting others. Very nice. Grace, thank you. Emphasizing empathy, understanding, and support within a community. Absolutely. Well, listen, I'd like to just read for you. I'm going to go ahead and let you can keep putting those in there if you would, as we look at this, as we move forward. What I'd like to do is just tell you a little bit about what culture of care means to your presenters here. And Teresa, that's a good one. Being gentle with words. Absolutely. Tone is very important. Unconditional loyalty to others. William, Dr. Woods, thank you. So let me read our statements really quick here. My view of our unique perspective. Why do we care? Well, I believe that you always lead by example, lead with a purpose, with empathy, and act with compassion, and also demonstrate a positive attitude, positive psychology. You know, you want the best outcomes. You want to be authentic and genuine, and you want to show students and colleagues that you care and that you're committed to their success. Kim Cowan says, be curious, not judgmental. Dr. Stephanie says, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. How true. Very true. So here we go. We've set the stage here for you. We're looking at kindness, care, kindness, concern, empathy, all those different things you put into the chat. So can we move on to the next slide, please? Okay, the student perspective. Universities have to see the issue of persistence through the eyes of their students, hear their voices, engage with the students as partners, learn from their experiences. Now, when you think of that, think about how student-centered we are, and think about our vision and how we want to empower, enrich, support, and graduate students. But we want to meet the students where they're at. So that's a very important thing to keep top of mind, and it's important to understand your purpose and your culture care statement, and put your passion to it, and move forward and lead, lift, and role model, do all the right things to support students, to help them through their learning continuum and to nurture them in their transformation. So with that said, can you move to the next slide, please? Okay, Kim, I'm going to turn it over to you, and you can elaborate a little bit here on care and our students.
Absolutely. Thank you, Bill. For us to build a strong foundation for what we wanted to do in our project, we needed to better understand our learners, what challenges they face, how that fits within this broader concept of building trust, ensuring that faculty and staff engage with students in a way that's very meaningful to them. As we began our research, we sought to understand, just at the very basic level, the general demographics of our student population, and compared that with the traditional University of Arizona learner, and used some internal data from our academic resolution process as a starting point. So in 2022, 30% of UAGC student population self-identified as Black or African American, compared to 6.7% of the University of Arizona student. 87% of UAGC students were over the age of 25, while 73.5% of University of Arizona students were under that age. 50% of the UAGC students were Pell Grant recipients, whereas 25% of University of Arizona students were. And finally, 5.6% of UAGC students were residents of Arizona, where University of Arizona actual students, 50.6%, were residents of Arizona. And based on the demographics alone, we start to see these differences in age, ethnicity, geographical location, and even financial status. The academic resolution process at UAGC provides students the opportunities to seek redress of academic concerns to ensure their instructional experience represents a fair and consistent evaluation of student performance. And we gather data from this process to determine whether our assumptions about the different experiences traditional students have compared to those of the adult online learner were on the right track. And we found in 2022 that 27% of the students who engaged with academic resolution reported some sort of non-college life event or hardship that prevented them from having an opportunity to operate within the classroom, expectations, and university policy. 66% of students reported concerns about their grading or feedback, typically demonstrating confusion about their grading practices, or not understanding feedback. And 59% alleged a concern about potential faculty policy violations or not really being supported within those expectations. And through in-depth conversations with students through this process, we found that students were reaching out for help, or students who reach out for help are both hesitant to share their stories, unable to articulate or advocate for themselves clearly and compellingly, and faculty sometimes struggle to find ways to support student success or identify a very individualized approach that shows the student that they're cared for. And these unique challenges pushed us to consider ways in which we could support student success in each of our areas, and this idea of care in general. And I'm going to hand it over to Stephanie to provide information about our research.
Next slide, please. Next slide as well. There we go. And you might want to click through. Apparently there are some animations. There we go. So and you can click once more. Apologies for that. Our research emerged from an ongoing dialogue between the three of us. We each work very closely with students in different capacities throughout the university. Kim Cowan in Student Affairs, Bill Davis in Forbes, and myself in CAS. But we all care very deeply about students, and we have been having many conversations about what our students are telling us and what preconceived notions we may have had coming into this world of online education and working with them. And we really wanted to take time to gather the student voice, to listen to them and let them tell us in their own words what they think, what their experience is like, and learn from them how we can better provide care for them. In our view, this was pre-culture of care when we first conceptualized this particular study, we believed the vast body of literature exploring the concept of care in the classroom could be distilled to 4 key qualities. Instructors and staff who care lead with compassion, taking the time to acknowledge the individual student's situation, including challenges and obstacles specific to adult learners pursuing online education, respect the unique contributions and strengths of each learner, and provide encouragement for development and growth toward meeting personal and career-related educational goals. We collected both qualitative and quantitative data from students and faculty and staff regarding their perceptions and experiences of care in the classroom utilizing an online survey. The data we're going to share with you today come from our students, and what we are going to do is walk you through those 4 components of care as we had conceptualized them. But we would like to make this an engaging presentation, so we're going to require some back and forth as well. Next slide, please. I will turn it over to Bill Davis.
Okay, well, thank you, Stephanie. You know, when you look at that deep feeling of empathy and caring for students, I always like to think about empathy or apathy, right? I mean, we want to show we care. We heard the students don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. You know, we want to feel them. We want to understand their situations. We want to see all the different variables. But we want to show compassion when life happens. We want to give encouragement. We want to lead, lift, equip them for success, and be there for them, serve them. So with that, you know, we think about compassion. So, but what's important is, and you're all contributing to the greater good here to the university when you put your comments in the chat, because we're going to pull from each other. It's only going to strengthen us, one team better together. So please participate in the chat. And what comes to mind? What does compassion mean to you? Can we get some things going there, please? In the chat. Don't be bashful. Please put them in. What? Just pop something in there. Let's just openly show and feature some of your comments. Don't yell at people. Absolutely. Thank you, Dan. Good tone. You know, show them you care. Pause. Listen to them. Grace. Absolutely. Thank you, Dr. Sandra. Being both understanding and empathetic. That key word, empathetic, so important. Thank you, Flory. Understanding that we are all different, right? Dr. Karen Ivey would always say, there's danger in a single story. I remember that when I worked with her. We have to see the whole picture, right? A desire to help people, truly listen, understand. These are great. Exercising unlimited patience. Gentle approach, right? Soft touch. Thank you, Dr. Teresa. But we have to flex. We have to understand students when they're there. We have to be good listeners and help them through some of those moments, because sometimes life happens and what we say, well, you know, can make a big difference. Flory says, you never know what someone's going through in their life. Absolutely. Understand those behind the scenes situations and listen and observe. And so important, compassion. So I think we've got a good feel for compassion. Let's move on.
In this slide,
back to you.
Thank you. In this slide, we're focusing on compassion, and we're comparing student responses to those of faculty and staff. This was a closed-ended question where we simply ask, my current instructor demonstrates compassion, or I am compassionate towards students. Do student perceptions line up with what we think we're doing? And as it turns out, both groups did indicate agreement that this element of care was present in their most recent interaction with one another, which is a positive. And you can note from the side here, we had a pretty decent sample size, 95 students and 104 faculty and staff members. So we're very pleased to see that indeed compassion, however a person is conceptualizing it, is being displayed in interactions. Next slide.
Our survey has also shared some interesting opinions from students and faculty and staff about compassion. For instance, students have shared that they feel compassion can be shown in ways like changing of deadlines, and this one I hear a lot in my unit, not shut out feelings when a student addresses an issue. Many times a student can be stressed out, not knowing how to ask a question or reach out for support, not wanting to share the details of their unique situation, not able to understand or convey appropriate tone. Students may be seeking an outlet and support and not necessarily a solution. And then on the faculty and staff side, listening to students' needs and concerns and working with the student to allow time and space for success, making decisions on a case-by-case basis. CARE is not allowing students to do whatever they want. Not all students need or will benefit from extra time, but some may. And it's okay to support each student as an individual meeting the learning outcomes of the course. Bill, let's dive into the next piece, which is, I believe, acknowledgement.
Okay, acknowledgement. What does acknowledgement mean to you? You know, a lot of times, I like this team acronym I embrace, together, everybody achieves more. Well, one I've learned throughout the years from John Maxwell leadership was be tolerant, we're all different, acknowledge each other, be mindful that we need each other. And as you move forward, that is so important to do. You have to acknowledge good work. You have to acknowledge that someone has a situation. Let's see what we can work out together. We need to be good leader coaches in the classroom. So those are just some things that come top of mind when I look at this. So looking at this now, what does this mean to you? What does acknowledgement mean to you? Please participate in the chat, and I'll read some of those. We've had fantastic participation here, so thank you. So awareness, respect, validation. Michael, great one. Absolutely. Let's validate. That's good work. Let's let them know. Let's use that in the tone of our voice. Show that empathy, compassion. Be soft when we need to. Lift when we need to. Felicia, thank you. Appreciate. Dr. Sandra, thank you. These are flying by so quick. If I miss yours, my apologies. But empathy. Christy, thank you. Rob, understanding the situation. You want to have good situational awareness, right? See all the variables. Deborah, I recognize what you're going through. Absolutely. What you're feeling. We need to validate that. People need to know we're on the same page with you. We can help you. I hear you. Dr. Nami, thank you. Yeah, you can see what is going on here, understanding. Christy, thank you. So much of that is so important. And again, in the dynamic, in the process and characteristics of that dialogue that you're having with a student to solve a problem, and showing empathy versus apathy, and showing that, hey, I see you, I acknowledge you, goes a long way. And we can do a lot of lifting of people. And here's a good one from Grace. Let someone know, I see you, I feel you, you're not alone, I'm here to help you. Let that come out in your voice. Let your passion and purpose show, and align that to our vision and what we're doing, and you will acknowledge a lot of students, and you will change a lot of lives and make a difference, because words are powerful, our behaviors are powerful, and let's just continue to do that. So with that said, I want to thank everybody again for all of your participation, because what will happen with this is we'll take the chat and summarize it and kind of put it back into our particular files and look at this as we continue this research, because what we did as a team here was very, very meaningful. And we actually wrote a chapter in one of the research books here by Dr. Kara had a hand in all of that, and we contributed a chapter. But anyway, point is, acknowledge your students, be student-centered. So next slide, please.
And asking both our students and our faculty and staff whether or not those recent interactions demonstrated acknowledgement of students as unique individuals. You can see we again received agreement with this particular item. Both groups again said yes, this was the case. Next slide.
Faculty and staff shared their comments about acknowledging as treating students as an individual and advising honestly and directly, laying out all options on the table and letting the student decide. Based on the comments we got back from students, there's an agreement here. Like Stephanie said, students want us to acknowledge they are not all the same. They might be at different stages in life, different struggles. And the more we can acknowledge that, the more we can show we care in a meaningful way to that specific individual. Bill, how about respect?
Well, the the definition I learned early on was a degree of indifference to show a person, thing, object, whatever. But when you think about respect, absolutely. And Kim, one of the things I just love listening to what you just said was how we're connecting the dots. You know, how we're all putting this together, so we're one, and we've got one focus. And respect definitely does fit in there. And so my question to this wonderful audience again is, what does respect mean to you? So important. So please again, whatever comes to mind when you think of the word respect, what would you say? We've had wonderful participant dignity. Melissa, thank you so much. You know, we want to respect a person's dignity, who they are, their values, what they represent. We want to meet them in the middle, right? We want to act in kind. We want to not rush to judgment. We want to respect them. Anybody else? When you think of respect, honoring another as you want to be honored, absolutely. Dr. Stephanie, thank you. Time, attention, and focus on what they're saying. Active listen, hear it all. Let them see you. Let them not only see you in your verbal communication, but your nonverbal. You know, make sure, because you can read apathy or empathy in a face. You know, you can see if somebody's really tuned in and connected and heard what you said, and you can see the head nods and the smiles and, you know, all of that other stuff versus apathy. Let's see, deep admiration. Christy, thank you very much. Absolutely. You know, you got to admire our students coming back and how they persist in what they do and how they work and how they balance families. Absolutely. I am inspired all the time when I'm on social media and I see some of the things that the students share. It's just absolutely amazing. Some are raising families, kids are coming back, resilient, amazing. Anybody else before we move on? You're helping the greater good here when you contribute. So thank you for everything you put in here. Acknowledging boundaries. Dan, thank you. Thank you so much. Acknowledge the gifts that I have to give to you and the world. Absolutely. You know, it's mutual respect, right? I can remember, and I'm just going to close on this one, go to the next slide, but I want to say one thing. Junior achievement. I used to teach in the classrooms for the seniors before they went to college. And one thing that I remember was the first chapter we opened up with in the junior achievement book was mutual respect. We talked a lot about that. So show everyone respect. Thank you. And let's move on to Stephanie.
This particular quality appears to be a strength. As you can see, 60% of our students indicated that their most recent interactions, they felt respected by their faculty and staff members with whom they were interacting. As faculty and staff members, nearly 90% of us feel that we're showing it. So there's still a little bit of a gap between perceptions and reality, but I think that this is a really positive finding and exciting to see that this is one of our strengths. Next slide.
Yeah, as we can see, respect can be very subjective depending on who you are and what you're seeking. And, you know, students mentioned when you reach out to be sincere in checking in, being curious about their student experience, not making assumptions. Something I hear a lot from students is allowing them to be human and make mistakes. Whether that be a teachable moment with academic integrity, understanding of a student's reaction to an email or something that might be unexpected. If we lessen those reactions, you know, from being right or wrong, we might be able to find a way to really show that care and that respect that that student is seeking, and then make progress moving forward. You know, the faculty and staff talked about being authentic. They're humans too. You may not see students in front of you in the classroom. Find ways to engage with them, not judge their reasoning. All of these, I think, are matching many of the things that we're seeing in the chat as well. So, Bill, what about encouragement?
Well, let's talk a little bit about encouragement. You know, reflect on how you encourage others. You know, how does your voice sound? How do you lift? What did you recognize them doing something right? Did you build on something that they did well? Are you there to let them know you're there to lead and coach? Their success matters. You know, when I think of encouragement, I think it is so important. You know, I think of support. I think of lifting. What do you think about encouragement? because that's what matters in your classroom. How do you encourage and how do you lead and lift? So what does encouragement mean to you? Let's see. Inspire, absolutely. I'm looking for the word influence, wondering if we see positively influence someone. Positivity, positive psychology, absolutely. Celebrating successes. Help to overcome challenges. Melissa, that's a great one, and when I think of that one, I think about the word we. We can overcome that. Let's work on that together. Connect, learning with praise, absolutely. Think about, thank you, Teresa, for that. Offer praise. You can always find something. There is something when you think about it. There's, we're all different, right? And you can see towering strengths that stand out in people. So be there and remember that. Boost them, absolutely. Thank you, Dr. Sandra. Intentional efforts to inspire. See that word inspire there, and that word intentionality. Sometimes it means Connie's got one pushing someone to the next level. Absolutely, just a real gentle, hey, let's move you to the next level. Let's be there with you. Let's take this up. Motivate. Absolutely, gotta stimulate that willingness, that expectancy theory. I can do this. The instrumentality to lead to the goal. Motivation is so important. Inspiration. But these are absolutely fantastic, and I can just see that we have some outstanding educators in here. Dr. Beach, acknowledge what you want to see more of. I had the privilege to work with Dr. Beach, and when something was good, he would always say to me, hey, that was really, really good. You need to do more of that. Keep that going. Those are the kind of things that inspire and motivate. Dr. Laura Palmer Noon always used to say 3 characteristics for success: attitude, attitude, attitude. So kept me thinking about being successful, doing the right things, the right frame of mind. But acknowledge your students and, encourage them, to do more of what you see as good. So with that said, let's go to the next slide and see what the data tells us.
I suspect our students, in many cases, we're talking about faculty and staff who are in this room. Again, I see a strength here in that, once again, we asked students and faculty whether their most recent interaction with one another demonstrated encouragement, and indeed, both groups indicated agreement, with students, over 50% of students indicating strong agreement with this particular statement. Next slide.
Our students really are looking for quick replies and the motivation to help with anything. That could be, hey, I want to talk to you a little bit more, and I may not be the person who can directly help you, but I'm going to get you to somebody who can. Going with feedback. Student is seeking clarification for grades they receive, even when they're asking questions. Faculty and staff are understanding that every interaction is an opportunity to care. Let's make the most of those. I really do appreciate that. It's about finding the common ground to create solutions. Every interaction with the student is that opportunity to show that you care in some way. And if you do that, you can make the best of each situation. So Stephanie, I'm going to send it right back to you.
Thank you. As you may have noted in the previous slides, faculty and staff responded more strongly in the positive direction than students on all 4 elements, but our students did indicate agreement that care was demonstrated through recent interactions for all 4 of the elements that we were asking. They felt that both instructors and staff members were responsive to their needs, displaying compassion, acknowledgement of them as unique individuals, respect, and encouragement. Anything above a 5 here indicates agreement, and all of the means were above 5, and some awfully close to 6, and 7's the max. So these are positive and encouraging results. Next slide. One more slide, please. Oh, goodness. Okay, let me jump to this. So for the instructors in the room, think about what your students appreciate most about you. We also collected some qualitative data, and the students we surveyed indicated that they were especially appreciative of warm, inviting communication, and in particular, their instructors and knowing their names. So what you can see here, many of the themes of our culture of care are reflected in the student voice through this data. This suggests that we are effectively practicing what we preach, though there's always room for improvement. And a great place to start is listening to the voices of our students in their own words. Next slide.
So the emphasis on individuality reemerged again all over our qualitative data, in which we asked students to indicate how else can instructors show that they care for you. Students shared it was important that there was recognition of individuality in current life circumstances by instructors. One student mentioned, we're all adults, but just knowing that a teacher may understand your current situation helps. Another said showing respect for your age and experience. Another student provided the following recommendation: make sure they speak to us as an adult, and though we do not have degrees yet, know we are intelligent and aware of how they respond to us, as well as understand that we do not have as much free time as they think we do to complete tasks. Stephanie, what about the staff side of things?
For the staff members in the room, note that your students do feel cared for by you. In particular, they note warm, inviting communication, and they are particularly appreciative of support based on their individual needs. Sending that additional link or following up on something that is right in line with what they need in a timely manner, and knowing their name when you're doing it, is really something that is very meaningful to your students. Next slide.
Yeah, understanding the whole person was a theme that emerged in the qualitative data, particularly concerning openness of staff members to be present and real. For example, one student mentioned interaction engagement is important in virtual settings. Just by showing they are virtually active and giving students easier ways to approach them is great. Being willing to have genuine conversations as well, and show some type of realness when interacting. Next slide, please. Overall, students at online institutions want to be something other than a faceless name. They want faculty and staff to be aware and open to their unique situations, provide flexible deadlines, connect them with resources, acknowledge their challenges, and treat them as human beings. An institution can demonstrate care by building an internal community that works together with students as the focus. Being authentic and engaging in conversations with students can help lessen judgments and allow students to feel safe and appreciated even when mistakes or life events occur. As we move forward in the culture of care, we need to listen to the student voice, find more ways to humanize them, yet support their busy lives. We didn't talk about this too much, but we also need to find ways to humanize faculty and staff and determine ways to move the needle away from transactional efficiencies and focus on supporting and understanding the individual. The power of anonymity can be diminished when we take the time to understand and recognize our student population and the uniqueness of the online modality. And as we continue to unmask the students we serve, the more we are likely to lessen our reactions and personalize our solutions. Bill and Stephanie, any final thoughts?
I would just like to say that as far as I'm concerned, this whole CARE acronym and thinking about that is just a great tool, because when you really think about it, if someone was to ask you for some advice, we could simply say, just care. All right. What does that mean? Show the compassion, acknowledge, show respect to the students, provide the encouragement. Timing's everything. Look for the moment, lead with empathy, lead with compassion. And as you lead with care and compassion, listen, see those situations, and just keep caring, keep showing your concern. And as far as I'm concerned, how can an institution support these needs? Active learning method, repetition, continue to talk it, continue to have dialogue, that's equitable, meaningful, empathetic with each other, continue to share best practices, continue to care. So that's what I see, Stephanie. Stephanie, how about you?
I know we have a few students in the room, and I would love if they are willing to come on and just share maybe what the most caring interaction they've experienced, or what has meant most to them, to see how that corresponds to what we found, if you're willing.
Don't be bashful. Come out there. I know there's a story or two out there.
Maybe in the meantime, if there's a faculty or staff member who has an experience that they would like to share that perhaps illustrates another element of care.
We're in the 5-minute mark right now, so also anybody who has any questions, feel free to fire away either in the chat room or or just verbally right here. I have a question unless somebody has a response to Stephanie's question. Anybody? Okay, I'm gonna ask a question, and if anybody has any responses, that'd be great. Just step in. My first question is, and maybe this is more of a dissertation type question, but what was there anything about your research that surprised you? Anything from your results that you didn't expect, or did you just kind of expect everything because y'all were so smart?
I'm going to just mention something as a business professional, I guess, and looking throughout my career, that I was pretty darn pleased to see that we didn't have a lot of big variances. You know, that if we accent the positives, we've seen a lot of things that are going good. Now, that was kind of what our hope was, to say, I hope when we do this research that we see things are working well, right? And so the conclusion we made looking at the data was simply, I think we're on the right track, but we've got a little bit of a gap there we can improve. You know, so that was my takeaway. And that kind of motivated us too to contribute to that book, you know, in the chapter there that Stephanie or Kim, you can mention. But it was a motivator for us, you know, to say, how can we add something after this research? So Dan, that's what I saw, was the gaps that maybe we can improve in, but I didn't see anything was broke. You know, it wasn't necessarily broken, just more from a quality perspective to move it up a little bit. That's all.
I would say I was a little bit surprised at how some of these actions that are seemingly so minor meant so much to so many of our students. I think, you know, all the little things add up, and it's wonderful to see and to hear that it is making a difference, and to know that, you know, taking the time to just personalize one message will make somebody's day. That was really encouraging to me and motivating to take even a little bit more time, and how can we take this a little bit further. So I was really pleased to see that it doesn't take giant changes in what we're doing every day, but just a little bit more time and a little bit more focused effort on some of those qualities that really help our students feel seen. Makes all the difference.
Something as simple as a nickname, using a nickname at the start of a communication, can make a huge difference to students, in my experience, or coming up with a nickname that you decided you want to give them. I'm just kidding about that, not really. Did you want to add?
Yeah, you know, I wasn't necessarily surprised, but we didn't have a lot of time to get into, you know, the research we did on the faculty side. We recognize a lot of our associate faculty are also navigating non-college life events. They're juggling multiple things, and I think one of the things that I'd love to do moving forward is finding those ways that we can bridge that gap between what the student is navigating and what a faculty member is navigating. They are similar in a lot of ways, and how can we come together to bring everyone to kind of see that and make this world of anonymity online to just be something that can bring us together, rather than feel as we're at midnight on both sides trying to put our best in these tasks, and we're not really sure how to go about it because we're exhausted and tired and impacted. You know, how can we bridge that gap between student and faculty when we're navigating those things? So I look forward to what we can do with this in the future as well.
That's cool. We got Carter from Human Services answered, I think, Stephanie's question earlier, that one of the instructors gave out Snoopy Awards. And if we can get some clarification on that, that'd be great. Otherwise, I'm happy to just make up whatever should be fitting for that kind of award. But so that's something. Maybe just any kind of award maybe would replace that and just call it their own thing. So that's a cool example. We've also got Grace mentioned that they include care language in their responses to students who reach out for help, actually stating, "I demonstrate a culture of care in this classroom and will do whatever I can to support you." And then Dr. Sandra Brightwell mentioned, I guess, considering the intersection of social determinants of health with the social determinants of learning equals care as well. And so those are some of the comments out there. And we're actually down to, we have about 1 minute left. So does anybody have any closing comments?
Dan, I would just ask Stephanie or Kim to just mention the chapter we did, because I think it could be very beneficial. I'll put it in in the chat for everyone. But Kim, you led that project. Why don't you go ahead and just make a mention?
I mean, I think you've mentioned it. I don't know how else to market that. That's your area. But yeah, the three of us did the research. We were able to engage in creation of a chapter. Kara Metz was one of the editors of the book. We did have a slide with it, and I don't thank you, Bill, creating care in the online classroom. It's in the balance and boundaries and creating meaningful relationships in online higher education. Bill, thank you for putting that in there. If you're interested in any more in-depth review, plus that kind of faculty side that we didn't get to today in our presentation.
Good. Well, Dan, I think you can see we're very passionate about this, and what a great session. You were a wonderful host, and thank you so much, and you and Stephanie and team, and we love culture of care, and let's keep moving forward and apply the CARE acronym.